live recap of Friday Night Smackdown for December the 18th, 2020. We are 1 week away from Christmas, but before that, we have WWE TLC. That pay-per-view is this coming Sunday night on the WWE Network. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership. Let's get right down to SmackDown. It was on FS1 this week because of a sporting event. We had a recap of last week's show. Kevin Owens came to the ring. He immediately called out Roman Reigns, and he had a talk with his family, like Roman Reigns suggested. And he told his family to not watch TLC because he does not want his family to see what he does to the so-called head of the table, Roman Reigns, in a tables, ladders, and chairs match. Owens once again said that Reigns uses his family as pawns, and it's pathetic. Paul Heyman then appeared on the big screen, and Heyman referred to Owens as a mortar who is determined to do whatever it takes to become the Universal Champion, and that makes Owens a very dangerous man who has to be eliminated. Owens then said he's going to go find Roman Reigns. If Reigns is not going to come down there, he's going to go back there and find Reigns, which he did. However, when he got backstage, Adam Pearce was there trying to get him to chill out, to relax. Meanwhile, Roman Reigns' music hit. Reigns went into the ring, and Owens was there backstage watching on the monitor. Reigns talked about how he doesn't want to hurt Owens' family. He's not a bad guy. He's just doing what it takes to be the guy, and Owens doesn't understand that. It's above Owens' pay grade. And Reigns advised Owens to stay in his lane, and then Reigns made an offer to Owens. He said that all Owens has to do is come out there, apologize to him, and acknowledge him as the tribal chief. Owens took off, stormed off, very angry, and Reigns said if Owens cannot do this, Reigns will end him. Owens came down to the ring. Jay ended up attacking Owens as Owens was coming to the ring, and there was a double team. Adam Pearce and the officials came down there and tried to break up the fight. All hell broke loose, and finally Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, and Paul Heyman took their leave. Solid opening segment here. Great stuff from these guys as usual. And it went pretty long. It went 2 full segments. You had a commercial break in between the 2 segments. It took about a good 20 minutes of the show, but it did well, and there was more to come. Most of this show was built around that match, I have to say. If you're going to spend that much TV time on one match, this was the match to do it, and this is the storyline to do it when Roman Reigns is red hot. So they did a lot with this to build it up. Backstage, Reigns and Jey Uso were talking about what happened, and Reigns was not convinced that Owens was taken care of. Reigns said that Owens did not get the message, and he's not going to listen. He's just that kind of guy. Reigns then gave Jey Uso the go-ahead to end him. And like I said, it continued from here. We had our first match of the evening, which was Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, Bobby Roode, whatever you want to call him. Back in the day, I used to refer to him or that team as Rudolph. We had the tag team match for the titles, Rudolph versus the Street Profits. And before the match, we had some actor, Clark Duke. He was talking about the match. I had no idea who this guy was, by the way. And apparently people are not getting the notifications for this video. And just a heads up, make sure you follow NoDQ.com and NoDQ's social media. I post links to the video on Twitter and Facebook in case there's a problem with YouTube. Just a heads up to people that are just now getting into the chat room and just now seeing the notification. Follow at NoDQ.com on Twitter. Turn on notifications and on Facebook as well, so you guys can get updates. I'm here every Friday night, so if you don't see the notification, find the link and make sure you tune in. Because a bunch of people apparently missed the start of this live stream. I just saw a bunch of people come into the chat room now. Oofman, Steve-O, Michael Wayne, thank you guys for tuning in. So we had this tag team match, and Ziggler provided an early distraction. Montez Ford ended up being knocked off the apron. Ziggler and Roode had the upper hand for the bulk of this match. Ziggler was doing his usual trash talking. Dawkins finally got the hot tag, and he got some moves in on Ziggler and Roode, but they were able to gain the upper hand once again, and Ziggler hit this super Fameasser with the help of Robert Roode, did a super Fameasser, which Dawkins was able to kick out of. Dawkins came back, hit the anointment, and then Montez Ford tagged in, hit the big frog splash, but as he was going for the pin, Roode broke it up, and then Roode went for a roll-up, which Ford reversed, and when Roode went for the roll-up, Roode was holding the tights. Ford rolled up Roode and also used the tights, only he ended up getting the victory. And Corey Graves was talking about how Street Profits cheated, but they were just doing the same thing that Roode and Ziggler were doing. Roode and Ziggler were very angry after the match. They were yelling at Charles Robinson, and Robinson was actually not taking their crap. He was yelling back at them, and he warned them to back off or they would be suspended. And I thought something was going to happen here. I thought Ziggler was going to super kick Charles Robinson. The way Ziggler was standing, I thought it was going to happen, but nope, just cut away, and that was that. I thought for sure Robinson was going to get his ass kicked by Roode and Ziggler. And I'm sure we'll get another rematch with these guys, maybe at the pay-per-view on the kickoff or next week's SmackDown. TJS with a $3 super chat, first one of the evening. Thank you, TJS. He says, "Are they punking me, Tio? Ding." Of course, he's making a reference to Tio, a.k.a. Hector Salamanca, one of the all-time great Breaking Bad characters. They're all great. Backstage, we had Kevin Owens on his way to find Roman Reigns, and he was attacked by Jey Uso once again. Jey used the steel chair on Owens and told him to stay down. We had an interview with Bianca Belair, and she just talked about how Bayley calls herself a role model, but she's not, and Bianca said she's going to shine against Bayley. We then had the Riott Squad teaming up against Billie Kay and a new partner. Last week it was Natalya. Billie Kay, because it's on her resume, she also does announcing. She announced her partner this week, Tamina. Michael Cole, with a straight face, mind you, said that this was a great pick. Anyways, the storyline here is that Billie Kay sucks, and it's not the partner's fault. It's that, well, she's no good. She got beat by the Riotts. Tamina got knocked off the apron. Ruby and Liv hit their double team move, and Liv pinned Billie Kay. So it's back to the drawing board for Billie. I guess next week she'll team up with somebody else, you know. Is it really a great pick, or just anybody who wants to get TV time? Like, that's the smart thing to do. They would be jumping at the opportunity just to get used on TV. Tic Tat Tat says iconic ... So maybe we'll see Peyton Royce come back on SmackDown, and WWE will realize breaking up the Iconics was pretty much a waste of time. And Bada let me try that again. Bada thought it was going to be Charlotte. Well, if Charlotte's going to be a mystery partner, it will probably be at the pay-per-view. Next up, we had Carmella coming out to the ring for a champagne toast over what happened last week in, I guess, her pending victory at TLC against Sasha Banks and capturing the Women's Championship. She said it's the season to drink the bubbly. She didn't say it like that, but we were all thinking it when she said it. And she said she was going to be doing some champagne testing. She then cut a promo on Sasha, said that Sasha is weak, and the longest Sasha ever held the championship was this reign. Carmella said that Sasha is drowning in the pressure of her own expectations. Carmella then said that Sasha, in their match last week, intentionally got disqualified because she felt the championship slipping away. And who is Sasha Banks if she doesn't have the championship, if she's not the best? Carmella then started to taste the champagne, but she was very quickly interrupted by Sasha. The assistant for Carmella went up the stage waiting for Sasha to arrive, but Sasha, of course, came in the other way, got in the ring, and threw a glass of champagne in Carmella's face. She put on the bank statement, and it took about 15 to 20 seconds before the assistant even got back into the ring. What was he doing on the outside? Jerking off or something? Like, Sasha was in there for quite a bit, and this guy, he must be a turtle or something. It took him forever, it seemed, to get back into the ring. And he finally did, and he was slapped for his troubles. And then Carmella took advantage of the situation, broke another glass over Sasha's back, and that was our final segment leading into the pay-per-view. Again, I do not see a title change. DJW with a very generous $10 super chat. Thank you, DJ. I appreciate it. He says, Ayo, Aaron, how would you fantasy book Jimmy Uso's return to in-ring competition and into the head of the table storyline? You can answer at the end since I'm off topic and I'm at work again. Thanks, buddy. All right, I will address that. I'm going to copy and paste it here into my notes so I do not forget. I will discuss that afterwards. So if you guys want to stick around after I finish the recap, I'll talk about Jimmy Uso's return. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, assistant was jerking off to EC3 and Ricochet. I hope not. I hope he has better material than that. Just saying. All right, back to SmackDown. Well, I guess that was kind of SmackDown. Maybe SmackDown After Hours for that assistant. But back to what happened on this show. Kevin Owens was in the trainer's room, and he was once again attacked by Jey Uso. Uso put Owens through a table to try and finish him off like Reigns had requested. Our next match was Otis versus Shinsuke Nakamura, also known as Shin. Michael Cole likes to call him Shin, and I got used to calling him Shin. You had Chad Gable out there coaching Otis once again, and Otis was doing well. He went for his caterpillar, but Gable told him to do a suplex instead. So Otis attempted a suplex, but Shin rolled him up with a small package. However, Otis did kick out, and then Otis managed to hit the suplex, went up and hit the Vader bomb, and scored the victory. Pretty much a squash match. I felt bad. As Dr. NXT Scorpio says in the chat room, I felt bad for Shinsuke. Now, of course, he's collecting a paycheck and he's on TV every week, so he might not care that much. He gets to surf on his days off. But yeah, former Royal Rumble winner, beat John Cena, and now he's losing glorified squash matches to Otis of all people. We then had an interesting segment. We had not the Slammy Awards, but the Sammy Awards. Sami Zayn was in a tuxedo. He was backstage. He had his envelopes, and he was yelling at this assistant about the awards not being polished. So he ran off to get some polish. While he was doing that, Big E arrived. And Big E grabbed the envelopes and he had a very evil laugh. You knew something was up here. We then had a really bizarre video air, a 2020 video. And what I mean by that is Drew McIntyre was cutting a promo when he was interrupted by a CGI 2020 character, basically looking like the coronavirus with the 2020 numbers. And 2020 cut a promo about how everyone's all butthurt about not being able to go to the gym. But the fact is they would not be going to the gym anyway if it was open. So all these guys then, all these superstars beat up 2020. And 2021 came out and beat up 2020. Very, very strange video package here, I must say. Back to SmackDown, we had Sami Zayn come to the stage, and he had his Sammy Awards. He talked about how the Slammies used to be a big deal when Jack Tunney, the former WWF president, was in charge, but then it took a nosedive when the company started highlighting its favorites instead of highlighting the fan favorites. Sammy aired a video package, a year in review of all the things he did. He then announced the comeback of the year, which, drumroll, was him, Sami Zayn. He won the award, and then he read off the match of the year, which was Clash of Champions, when Sammy defeated AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy in that ladder match. 2 awards for Mr. Zayn. On a roll, could he make it 3 for 3? Superstar of the Year. He read it off, and it was Big E. That's right, Big E tampered with Sami Zayn's envelopes. What a sneaky, sneaky man. Big E then made his entrance, and by the way, this was an entertaining segment, but as soon as Big E was announced, a graphic went up for Big E, so I guess the production people, Kevin Dunn and all those guys, they were tipped off that this stunt was going on. Otherwise, this actually made no sense, because if Big E screwed around with this at the last minute, why would that graphic go up instantly? So yeah, Big E came out and had a speech. Sami Zayn was trying to interrupt. He got attacked by Big E. He got tossed down the stage, and then Sami was just there on the ground, upset. Big E took the award, threw it down, and saluted everybody as he took his leave. Again, it was a fun segment. I had no issues with it other than the graphic just popping up instantly for Big E. But, you know, it was one of those kind of wacky comedy segments where you just check your brain at the door when it comes to that stuff. We had Bayley versus Bianca Belair, which was a pretty solid match here between the two of them. Before the match, Bayley cut a promo talking about how Bianca needs to be more humble and she's going to put Bianca on the map. Bianca did some showboating, which was kind of interesting because typically a heel does it, but she was doing all of her athletic movements and whatnot, her backflips, and just basically getting under Bayley's skin, and it worked. So I did like it. Babyface messing around with the heel and getting them upset. I'm all for it. Match went back and forth here throughout, with Bayley getting the upper hand, slamming Bianca's arm on the apron, and Bianca made a comeback and did a vertical suplex, showing everybody that she is the strongest. And it continued to go back and forth with some near falls. And then Bayley ended up raking the eyes of Bianca when the referee wasn't seeing and hit her Jeff Jarrett-like stroke finisher, the Rose Plant, to pick up the victory over a very game Bianca Belair. And I'm fine with the outcome of this. I know some people were upset about Bianca losing, but Bayley needed a win badly here. Now, the question is, did they need to book this match? Maybe they could have waited on it for a while, maybe saved it for the Rumble or something. I don't know. But it was a good match, and Bayley did need the win. And I don't think it hurt Bianca too much to lose this. Bayley did cheat to win when the referee wasn't looking, so I was okay with it. We then had our final segment, which was once again Roman Reigns. At the beginning of the video, I brought up how Reigns and Owens got a good chunk of the early part of SmackDown, a good 20 minutes, and then you had those additional segments where Jey Uso was attacking Owens. So Reigns came to the ring, and he said he doesn't understand why Owens would blow his championship opportunity. Owens' music hit despite being attacked by Jey backstage in multiple segments. Owens came to the ring. Reigns gave Jey the nod to finish off Owens. However, Owens grabbed a steel chair, attacked Jey with it. Owens then got in the ring, went after Reigns. He tried to hit the stunner, but Reigns countered. Jey then came in with the super kick to knock down Owens. The two of them beat the crap out of Kevin Owens. They hit him with steel chairs. They brought out the tables. They put Owens through the tables. Jey Uso did a spine buster through a table, and then Reigns did the Samoan drop through a table. And then Reigns started grabbing all of the broken pieces of the table, placed them over Owens, basically burying Owens in the plunder. They had the chairs, they had the ladders, all the TLC items got buried over Kevin Owens. Reigns and Jey took their leave. They went backstage. They were interviewed, and they were looking at the monitor, and that's when Owens got out of the pile. He lived. I was hoping he'd do like the one hand sticking out of the pile, but he just pulled himself out completely. He grabbed the chair with every ounce of strength he had and sat down, and he finished off the show by saying he is going to take the Universal title or die trying. Great ending to the show. I loved them beating the shit out of KO and him just keep coming back. It reminded me of Mick Foley. I felt like Kevin Owens was channeling Foley, where he just got beat so badly, but he just kept coming. He would not stay down. They really did a great job to make Owens look like somebody who could take Roman Reigns in a fight, and Reigns will literally have to put this guy out for a long time. Hopefully they do something, because if, they got to top this. So if they do an angle with Owens where he gets just completely destroyed, Owens has to sell it for a bit. I think he needs to take a couple of weeks off to really sell the impact of it, because Reigns is going to have to do more than what he did on this show. So again, they're setting the expectations very high for this match that somebody's going to take a huge bump. I mean, they kind of have to after all this. So yeah, ending was great, but if anything, it's forcing WWE now to deliver big time with this match, because they gotta up the ante at the pay-per-view. I think they could have done less and still had a similar effect, but they went big with this. They definitely did. And Mike B with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Mike B. He sent a cat animated graphic. Thank you for that. At Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, how about Edge versus Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble? Well, I don't know if Edge is going to be back in time for the Rumble. He might, but he could end up being an entrant again and repeating that. Who knows? But I think we'll have to wait and see on that. I think that it's unlikely Edge comes back and faces a SmackDown guy. I think the likelihood is Orton, maybe The Fiend, but I feel like it's going to be one of those two guys. TJS says, will the Inferno match close the show? Probably not. I mean, it's going to be a cinematic match. They'll throw it in. See, I think they're going to open with the TLC match and close with the TLC match. I mean, that's what I would do. Spread them out, and then you would put the Inferno match somewhere in the middle. I mean, I think that's how I would lay it out if I was doing it. Steve-O says the feud is going great with Reigns and Uso. Amanda says excellent show. And Kev thinks there's a feeling that Edge will be in the Rumble again. Let's go ahead and do the letter grade, and then I'll talk about Jimmy and what could possibly happen with that. Show was good. There was some filler on it, but the stuff with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, great as usual. Reigns continues to really deliver as a very compelling heel character. So I'm giving the show a solid B. I don't think it was like a major home run based off of the filler stuff, but everything with Reigns and Owens was an A in my opinion. Amanda gives it an A. Bada Thoughts gives it a B. Mike B with an A. Kev with a B. Paula with an A-. Dr. NXT Scorpio with a B. Game is on 100 with a B. Michael Wayne with a B. Steve-O with an A. Leatherface with a B-. And Kim Hall with a B-. And Marvin says B+ for the great ending. And Tic Tat Tat with a B as well. And Cleaver Colin Andrew says B, loved the ending. I agree. TJS gives it a D, but he could be joking. You know, that's TJS for you. Take whatever he says with a grain of salt. Colin Andrew, I agree. Ending was great, and it was a success in the sense that it got me more excited for the pay-per-view. And go-home shows, they're supposed to do that. So, yeah, this show was a hit. Definitely a good show. And TJS says actually a solid B. So there you go. All right, so DJW's question about Jimmy Uso and how he can fit into the storyline. I think Jimmy should not be sold on being aligned with Roman Reigns, just like Jimmy was. And you can have some tension between Jimmy and Jay where they're not on the same page. Jimmy comes back as a babyface. He has some sympathy for what has happened to Kevin Owens and other guys that Roman Reigns has been involved with physically. Jey Uso has a problem with it. And Reigns is upset with Jimmy and, Jay is conflicted. And he has to try and get Jimmy over to the dark side. And this is something you can play out over the next month or two where Jimmy is slowly going into darkness just like Jay, and Jay's trying to suck him in. And eventually, Jimmy, just like Jay, goes full-blown bad guy and full-blown disciple of Roman Reigns. So, yeah, I think it should be a storyline that plays out over a month or two, and you have Jimmy slowly going down into that dark place, and then eventually you have the bloodline full-blown bad guys, and they're all out as far as their character development goes, and they're fully in the dark as far as their characters go. I'm looking forward to it. I definitely think there's a lot of potential with Jimmy, and they can keep that going. And Psycho Jet Black says, what about Naomi? I'd love to see Naomi get involved too. I'd love to see her be the female representative of the group. You can have 4 people in the faction and have her represent the women's division. She's on the shelf right now. She's not doing anything. Bring her in and have her win the women's championship. She could be the one to beat Sasha Banks at some point for the title. And yeah, maybe the Usos, once they're full-blown tag team heels, they can win the SmackDown tag team titles as well. Street Profits versus Usos at WrestleMania. That will be a hot match if that's the route WWE is going. But yeah, I would slowly build up to that, where Jimmy and Jay are not on the same page initially, but by WrestleMania they are. And Leatherface says, I thought Naomi was on Raw. Well, they can put her back on SmackDown. I mean, she hasn't done anything on Raw, so there you go. I mean, nobody would really care at this point if she was all of a sudden back on SmackDown. Hamp Kana with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Hamp. I appreciate it. He says, how do you feel about the USA Network wanting more adult content? It's a Band-Aid on a much bigger issue. You know, it's like the Titanic sinking and you're trying to put a Band-Aid on it. We all know what needs to happen. Vince needs to step down. Until it happens, nothing's going to really change. It's going to be a bunch of quick fixes. We've seen a number of them over this past year. You can have a PG show and it can still be compelling. And you can have a TV-14 show that has a lot of adult content and it still sucks. You need to change a lot of things with WWE. Not just the storylines, but the whole presentation of the show. WWE has gotten too comfortable with their formula. They need to shake up the entire formula of the show and reinvent Monday Night Raw completely. Everything about it needs to change. Like they need to do something revolutionary with the product. And as long as Vince is in charge, don't think it's going to happen. I think Vince is going to stick with what works, or what used to work at least. And that's the way it's going to be. He'll do something. I'm sure Raw is going to be an eventful show. There's going to be pressure to get those numbers up. So they'll have their next quick fix, you know, the next Raw Underground or the next Retribution. But for starters, how about getting rid of the shaky camera work? No more contract signings. No more doing the promo where one person interrupts and then another interrupts and then another interrupts and then you turn it into a tag team match. You got to do some different stuff with different people and just a different attitude about the show. What is Monday Night Raw? It's got to be something new. Can't just be the same old thing they've been doing for 20 years, 23 years. I mean, really, since Raw is War. Raw is War was revolutionary when it started in 97, when they brought in the Titantron and they just had a whole different approach to how they shot the show and how everything looked. But they've more or less been following that formula for 23 years. And it's time to change. They got to do something. If they want to stop the decline, they got to change and become revolutionary and take some bold risks that they haven't taken before. So anyways, guys, that's all I got for tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I apologize for the issues with the subscriptions at the beginning. But again, make sure you follow me on social media. I post the links before the live streams begin, the direct links. The direct link is also available on NoDQ.com in the opinions section. So you guys know where to look. If for some reason you're not seeing it and you're wondering, am I going on the air or not? The answer is always yes, unless there's some kind of an emergency, and in which case I would announce something on social media. So make sure you follow me at NoDQ, DOTCOM on Twitter and Facebook, and follow me at Aaron Rift on Facebook. If I have enough spots, you know, they only limit 5,000 friends, but I do clear it out sometimes. So at Aaron Rift, also on Twitter at Aaron Rift. Take care, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Happy holidays. Stay positive. Be safe. And I will see you all next time.